पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। By the infinite grace of the Lord Krishna, we are studying the Bhagavadgita. So we have completed some of the most beautiful shlokas of the second chapter, which illustrates the eternality of the Atman. The illustration given here is Vasamsi Jirnani Yatha Vihaya in the shloka number 22nd. Vasamsi Jirnani Yatha Vihaya Navani Grunhati Naroparani Tatha Sharirani Vihaya Jirnani Anyani Sanyati Navani Dehi. So already the Atma is Avinashi. It cannot be destroyed. It has no destruction. That has already been told. How it is possible, how Atman is indestructible, an illustration or an example is given here. So Krishna says here, Vasamsi Jirnani Yatha Vihaya. We remove the worn out clothes and take up the new clothes. Vasamsi Jirnani means, Vasamsi means here clothes. Jirnani means these are worn out or torn, old clothes. Vihaya, giving up. Navani, we take up the new one. Gruthnati, a man takes up the new clothes. Anyani, other clothes. Anyani Navani, he takes up the clothes which are other than the new one. Anyani. In the same way, Tatha, Tadvadeva, Shankara said, the Atman gives up the old body. The old body would become worn out. In the old age, after 70 or 80, you cannot expect the body to be strong, healthy and youthful. It cannot be. Body is decapitated. It has worn out and it has decayed so much, and people struggle to live in this body. And it is a really relief, a freedom to get away from that body. But still people hold on to that body as if this is the only resort, only abode they can have. But Krishna says that is not so. You can have a new body, you can have a new life. The life doesn't end if you give up the old body, because the body is bound to die, body is bound to destroy today or tomorrow. So yes, we take up the new clothes, giving up the old clothes. So in the case of our bodies also, one gives up the old clothes, that is worn out body, Tata Sharirani Vihaya Jirnani, and take up the new body. The word Sanyati is very interesting here. Sanyati means he is united with. Samyak yati, he unites with. That means we are now uniting with the old body, the present body. In the next birth, we will get united with the new body. What is that united? In reality, there is no union of the body and mind possible. Body and mind are jada, they are inert. Atman is pure, full of consciousness. How can there be union of the consciousness and unconsciousness? It is not possible. So the Vedanta says it happens due to adhyasa or the superimposition, due to wrong identification. As an Atman, we get identified with the body. That itself is the avidya. So there is no real unification or the unity or the identity of the body and the Atman. It is not possible. Combination is not possible. So Vedanta, we have a very popular example. The example is very common to the students of the Vedanta. There it is said, suppose we have several parts. Each part has got its own space. We say the part within the space within the part, space within another part, etc. The spaces look different, but they are not different. They are one with the space which is outside. So we can call the outer space, the bigger space, the infinite space as Mahakasha, and the inner space within the part as the Ghatakasha, the space within the part. Is there any difference between space within the part and the space outside this part? Absolutely no difference. In the same way, as the space is said to be united or constrained or confined to a part, it is an impossible thing. So the Atman, which is everywhere, is said to be confined to the body, to be present in the body. That idea itself is a wrong idea. So one has to give up that idea and identification with the body and mind, and one feels that Atman is present everywhere. Atman has become everywhere, and he becomes Atman. What is becoming Atman? There is no such thing as becoming Atman. One is Atman already, identifying with everything, infinite, that is Atman. So if we give up the identity with the body, what happens is we feel the presence, our presence everywhere. That is the state of Atman. We feel that we are pure consciousness, Satyam Jnanam Anantam, as Upanishad says, or the Satya Jna Satchit Ananda, and we feel that we have become everything. There is no second entity other than the Atman. So, only the dehas or the bodies are perishable, and Atman always remains same. The example, the man is the same. The Purusha who wears the clothes, old clothes he was wearing, he is the same person who is going to wear the new clothes. There is absolutely no difference in the human being. But what has changed is the clothes. The old clothes have been thrown out or given up, and the new clothes have been taken in. And in the same way, Atman remains the same, and Atman is identified with this body now, the present body. So what is death then? This body is destroyed because body is a composed matter. It is a composition, it is a combination. The analogy, the argument is, or the tarka, or the logic behind it is, whatever is combination, that has to go to its parts. There are some parts in a combined entity, it will go to its parts. Suppose we have a part and part is broken, it will go to its parts. In the same way, body will be dissolved into parts. Panchabhuta, the five fine elements, great elements. This is the idea. But what remains as unchanged is the Atman. What remains unchanged, that is what is called Atman. You can call it by any name. This is called Atman or Brahman in the Vedantic tradition. And to make this thing more easy to understand, Krishna says in the 23rd shloka, Nainam chindanti shastrani, Nainam dahati pavakaha, Nachainam kledayantyapaha, Nashoshayati marutaha. This Atma, here it is Dehi. We have to consider the indwelling spirit within the body, that is Atma here. So in Upanishad, the all-pervading spirit, the consciousness is also called Atman. Here Atma refers to Dehi, which is inside. So then what is the difference between consciousness which is felt inside and which is outside? There is absolutely no difference. Once again we have to take up the example of the space within the pot and space outside the pot. When the pot is broken, the limited space within the pot will get merged in the outer space, infinite space. There is absolutely no difference at all. The space is one and the same. So what consciousness, the consciousness, spirit that is felt within the body and mind complex, that is called Pratyagatma. Here it is referred as the Dehi or Shariri. What is meant by Dehi? One who is in the body, one who is in the Deha is called the Dehi. One who is in the Sharira is called the Shariri. So this body can be changed or destroyed by various means. For example, the body can be cut by the weapons like the sword, but Atman cannot be cut. So a comparative analysis has been made in this sloka. The body can be cut by the sword, but the Atman cannot be cut. You cannot cut the space because Atman doesn't have any parts. The body has got parts. That is the meaning of the first part of the verse, Nainam chindanti shastrani. Yenam means the Dehi, Atma, which is felt in the body. Na chindanti shastrani. Any shastra, any kind of weapon cannot cut or make an injury or make some change in the Dehi or the Atman. And next one is Nainam dahati pavakaha. Suppose a man is subjected to fire. He enters into fire or fire engulfs him. What is destroyed, what it burns, the fire burns, is his body, not the Atman. Atman cannot be burnt. That is the second idea. Na enam dahati pavakaha. Enam means this Atman, the pavaka, that means the fire cannot burn the Atman. So this is similar example. That means a weapon cannot cut the Atman and also a fire cannot burn the Atman. The third example is Nachainam kledayantyapaha. We have to divide the words. Nacha kledayanti apaha. Apa means water. So the idea is when there is a body, when there is anything for that matter, they have parts. The parts are moistened by the water. Moistened by the water. Actually, those parts will get segregated when you put water. That is what you call it moistening. That doesn't happen in the Atman because Atman doesn't have any avayava or the parts. So this is what we mean, Nachainam kledayanti apaha. Next is Nashoshayati marutaha. Maruta means wind or the air. What air does is, it dries up the oily part, an entity or the substance content. That is his characteristic. You see, when you in the summer, you feel your body drying up as if, because it is drying the oily part or the watery part of the body. That can happen only in the body, not to the Atman, because body has got parts and some oily substance is taken out from the parts will get dried. That is why it's all possible. In the body only, drying is possible and wetting is possible. Drying is possible by vayu or the air or the wind, and wetting is possible by the water. But doesn't happen in the Atman, because body is savayava. Some Sanskrit words are very useful. They are not very strange words. We use the word in our language, savayava and niravayava. Savayava means with parts, with organs. Niravayava means without parts. Atman doesn't have any parts. It is niravayava. Savayava, any matter, anything in this world have parts. That is, body has got parts. So a kind of comparative analysis, how Atman is different from the body. You see all these functions, the function like cutting, or the function like burning, burning by the fire, cutting by the weapons, and also the wetting by or the moistening by the water and drying by the air is possible in the case of body and other substances, material things, but it is not possible in the Atman, because Atman has no parts. The idea, if you continue to extend this idea, that which doesn't have parts is infinite, because only those things which have parts can have the finite things, because one substance separates the another substances. Two substances are there, one substance is separate from another substance. That is what is called the finity, finite objects. But Atman doesn't have any parts, mean Atman is infinite. When Atman is infinite, Atman should be eternal. So all other characteristics will follow. So this is the meaning of this sloka. It is very interesting, very intelligently Krishna, though it looks very simple, but it has a very significant hidden. There is hidden a great truth, great reality that we should try to understand. Since shastrani or the weapons cannot cut, and the fire cannot burn, and water cannot wet, and also the air cannot dry, this is the, since it is so, has to be added in between before we go to the next sloka. Since it is so, achedyoyam adashoyam akledyo shosyayevacha nityaha sarvagatastanuhu achaloyam sanatanaha. There is a connection between the previous sloka and this sloka. Since it cannot be cut, it cannot be burnt, it cannot be wetted, or it cannot be dried, Atma is such and such. So achedya. Achedya means that which cannot be cut. The same idea is repeated at that word. Since it is so, because it is so, has to be supplied between the mantras, between the sloka. Shankara puts it, yatayeva asmat, because it is so, Atma is achedya. These weapons, if you use that weapon, another man has got another weapon, they both are able to kill each other. So one man kills one another, the another person will kill this first fellow. What they are really killing? They are killing only the body. They are destroying only the body. But weapons can destroy or they kill the bodies, not the Atman. This is the idea of achedyosham. And the same idea, adashoyam. Any object can be burnt by the fire, not the Atman. And all other material things can be wetted or the moistened by the Atman, not Atman, not Atman. Atman cannot, in the case of Atman, water cannot wet it. That is akledya. Ashosya, it cannot be dried up by the air. So, because the hetu, the reason is given in the previous sloka, since it is so, Atman is like this, like this. This is the idea. Then since Atman cannot be cut, Atman cannot be burnt, Atman cannot be wetted, Atman cannot be dried, Atma is Nitya. Here, like this, we have to understand. This is how Shankaracharya has commented upon this beautiful sloka. Nityaha. Since these are all the means of destroying an object, cutting, or the burning, or the moistening, here the components are separated in a combination. Since Atman is not a combination, since it cannot be burnt, etc., Atman is Nitya. This is how we have to understand. So what Nitya means eternal. Always it is there. As I already told you, Nitya means always changeless. Since it is changeless, since it is componentless, it has no parts, it will remain same all the time. That is called Nitya. So once again, because it is Nitya, it is Sarvagata. So here in Sanskrit it is called Hetu Hetu Mad Bhava. The reason is given before, and what is the result of the reasoning is given the next. So Achedyoyam, Adashyam, etc. are the reasons. Since it is so, because it is so, Atman is Nitya. Because Atman is Nitya, Atman is Sarvagata. What is meant by Sarvagata? All pervading. When you say something is all pervading, if you say space is all pervading, the best example they give always when they explain the Atman is the space. They compare to the space. So there is only one space. There cannot be two spaces. We say space is everywhere. That space is everywhere. That notion also is wrong because there is only one space. In the same way, since it is only one, since it is eternal, just like the space, it is everywhere. Nityatvatu sarvagataha, the words of Sri Shankara. Since it is so, it is Thanu. It cannot have any change. Thanu means a pillar. Pillar doesn't change. Pillar always remains the same. We have a great iron pillar in Delhi. It remains the same for the last few centuries. No change at all. Because it is eternal. Because it is everywhere. It is Thanu, changeless. And Achalaoyam. Since it is changeless, there cannot be any movement in Atman. There cannot be any movement. That which is stationary, it is always there. There cannot be any movement at all. Tiratvat achalaha. So, the one is the cause of the another. Achedyoyam, etc. are the causes of the eternality of the Atman. And eternality of the Atman, that is Nityatva, is the cause of Sarvagatatva, all pervasiveness. And all pervasiveness is the cause of the unchangeability of the Atman, that is Tanu. Unchangeability of the Atman is the cause of the stationary. It is always remains the same. It doesn't have any change. And the last one is, since it is so, since Atman is Achala, Atman is Sanatana. Sanatana we use, Sanatana Dharma, the word we use. Sanatana means which is always there, which never changes. Of course, these are all we can read as synonyms. What is Nitya is Sarvagata. What is Tanu, what is Sarvagata is Tanu. What is Tanu is Achala. And what is Achala is Sanatana. So since it is so, Atman is not something which is produced afresh. And Atman is called in another shloka, it is called Purana. Purana means Pura api nama eva. It is most ancient object or the entity, still it is fresh because there was no change at all. There is no change at all. It always remains the same. So, Krishna brings home the very complicated, very abstract ideas in the Upanishad to us in a very simple form in these shlokas. This is a very interesting shlokas. If we carefully study, we will get the very summary of the Upanishadic teachings here. And next, Avyaktoyam Achantyoyam, the shloka or the verse number 25. Now Shankara raises a question, why Krishna is again and again repeating the same ideas. If you read some of the shlokas, about 5-6 shlokas, which we have already studied, same idea is repeated again and again. Only some wordings are changed, that's all. Same ideas are there. Nitya is told, Sanatana is told, same idea. Achala is told, same idea. Why it is so? Why it is so? Because Atman is not something manifested. What is manifested? What is unmanifested? Two beautiful words we have in Sanskrit. One is avyakta, another is vyakta. Avyakta means unmanifested. Unmanifested to our eyesight. We are not able to see it. We are not able to comprehend it. We are not able to think of it in our mind also. That is what is called avyakta. Since it is avyakta, since it cannot be comprehensible even by the mind, let alone by the indriyas, by touching or the hearing or the speaking, we cannot comprehend at all. That is why it is durbodha. It is very, very difficult to understand this concept of Atman. That is why Krishna tells again and again, emphasizes, repeats the ideas again and again. Why? What is this purpose? Only through this knowledge, only through the knowledge of Atman, the eternal Atman which is separate from the body and mind, one can be released from samsara or the transmigration of the birth and the death, punarapi jananam and the puranapi nayajam. So somehow or other we have to understand it through our intellect and try to experience it. That is the only purpose of our life. And we have to constantly engage ourselves in the Vedantic studies, Upanishadic studies, and the Bhagavadgita studies, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. One should continue to do uninterruptedly. Then only somehow or other we will be able to grasp it through our intellect. Shankara uses the word buddhi gocharatam. Somehow or other a mumukshu, a seeker of knowledge, seeker of moksha can grasp that repeated hearing, repeated contemplation, and also the manana and logical thinking, and also nididhyasana, contemplation. Then it will become buddhi gochara. We can grasp through the buddhi. We have to develop a new kind of intellect, fresh intellect, pure intellect to grasp the Atman. Then only samsara nivrutti can happen. The complete cessation of samsara chakra, the recurring of the birth and death can happen. This is the idea Shankara explained why Krishna repeats this idea again and again. Now we have the idea of avyakta. As I have already explained, in this shloka the avyakta idea comes here. Avyaktoyam, achintyoyam, avikaryoyam uchyate, tasmadevam viditvainam nanushochitum arhasi. Avyaktaha ayam. Because there are many words here which are joined, it is better to split those words and read. Avyaktaha ayam, achintyaha ayam, avikaryaha ayam uchyate, tasmat evam viditva enam na anushochitum arhasi. So this Atman is avyakta, always is unmanifested. There are some things which are unmanifested, and for some time it will get manifested. For example, body. Some 70 years back we were nowhere. We were not there at all. Our bodies were not there. Some years back our bodies came into existence. That is called Vyakta. After some years, we all know very well, our body is going to cease to exist. That idea will come later. But what is the difference between that avyakta and this avyakta? For some time at least, this body is comprehensible by the senses, but this Atman can never be comprehensible. It always remains avyakta. It is always remains outside the purview of the senses and the mind. Indriya gocharam, this is the idea. Since it is indriya gochara, indriya agochara, it cannot be comprehended or known through the senses and the mind. It remains something which cannot be thought of. The next idea, achintyaha. Once again, the same method has to be followed. Reason comes first, and the result of the reason comes afterwards. Avyaktaha is the reason. Since it is so, it is achintyaha. Like that we have to read. These are all tricks, and the methods are taught in the Shankara's commentary. That is why it is better to follow the Shankaracharya in reading Bhagavadgita. Since it is avyakta, it cannot be comprehensible senses in the mind. We cannot think of the Atman. We cannot think every object which is comprehensible, which can be known through the senses and the mind, not Atman, because it always remains. I already told you, body becomes Vyakta, manifested, at least for some time. So, that is what we call living. We lifespan, 70 years, 80 years, 90 years, maximum 100 years. Afterwards, it will become avyakta. So, the beautiful shloka we are going to read soon. So, but not Atman. Atman always remains unmanifested. Since Atman remains unmanifested always, Atman cannot be thought of by the mind. What we can think of? We can think of a pot, because pot is something comprehensible by the eye. We can think of some person who is in Canada or Australia, because we have seen him. In mind we can think of him. We can think of a person who is not there at present in our midst. We can even think of him who had died, because the object of the mind. And we can think of something which is the object for the senses. But we cannot think of something which is not the object of mind and the senses, because Atman is not the object of the mind and the senses. In fact, it is that which gives light, consciousness to the mind, without which there will be no mind at all. That is the Vedantic idea. So, since it is avyakta, it is achintya. Whatever is achintya, that cannot be thought of, cannot be an object. So, kriya, if action is there, action needs an object. That object, kriya or the action, makes the object change. Since it is not an object for the senses, object for the mind, Atman always remains the same. There is no vikara, there is no change. Atman cannot be subject to the change. That idea comes later. Since Atman is achintya, Atman is avikarya. So Shankaracharya gives an example how vikara takes place. So we have milk. Milk is transformed into the curd. Curd transforms into the butter. Butter again changes into ghee. These are called the vikaras, because this object, entity called the kshira or the milk is subjected to change. That's why it changes into butter, then First it is buttermilk or the curd, and then the butter, and then to the ghee. But Atman doesn't have that quality at all of getting changed. That is why it is vikarya. Uchyate. Uchyate means it is said. It is said by the people who have known the Atman. Because one cannot know the Atman through the normal eyes. It has to be experienced. It has to be experienced. So you have to grasp the meaning of this verse by reasoning and the result of the reasoning. Hetu mad bhava, it is called. Since it is avyakta, it is achintya. Since it is achintya, it is avikarya. Since it is avikarya, it is eternal. So all these ideas. So why we should grieve for this? There is no cause for Atman to be grieved at all. Why should I worry about Atman? Because Atman is always there. You think Bhishma, etc. are body. That is why you are in grief. You are worried about it. Tasmad evam viditva enam. Therefore, evam viditva, having known the nature of Atman in this manner, having known the nature of Atman in this manner, enam na shochitum arhati. You need not grieve for the Atman at all. Evam means in this way. Enam means Atma, this Atma. So you should know the Atma in this way. Which way? I have already told you. Achedyoyam, adashyam, etc. You have to think of the Atman in this way. You have to understand the Atman in this way. If you understand the Atman in this way, there will be no reason for grief at all. Because Atman is already there. You cannot think of Atman something destructible and worry about the Atman. So there is no reason for you to worry about Bhishma, Drona, etc. Because you are not going to kill Bhishma at all. You may kill the Bhishma, the body. You may kill the Bhishma, the Drona, the body. You can kill the Duryodhana, the body. But you cannot kill the Atma, the same Atma which is in Bhishma, Drona, Duryodhana and everyone. This is the idea. So how Atma Vichara is practical for us, practical utility it has got. Sometimes we think the Atma Vichara are abstract. All this we cannot understand. It is not something useful in our life. It is not so. That's why Swamiji has given 3 lectures in America called Practical Vedanta. Vedanta should be made practical. So if you understand and contemplate these ideas, many of the problems will be solved. Because we worried about many things which are not fit to be worried at all. Somebody dies, of course it is natural for us to get dukkha or the grief if somebody is died, because they are no longer with us. They are somewhere, we know they are somewhere, but they are no longer with us. Our dukkha is not for their destruction, they have died, but they are somewhere else. They are not with us. It is also a kind of selfishness, isn't it? Our son has gone to America. It is not for the sake of son we are grieving or suffering or in misery, because son is no longer with me, near me. That is why we are suffering. Here there is nothing to suffer, because Atman is everywhere. If somebody is killed, what is killed? A body is killed. So though it may not make us completely free from misery or suffering, at least the intensity of suffering, intensity of misery will come down. It will diminish and it will give us a lot of solace. That is why it is a custom in our tradition to chant the Bhagavadgita when somebody has died. In Belur Mutt or in other places, when a monk dies, until he is cremated, we chant the Bhagavad Gita. Because Bhagavad Gita speaks about the eternality of Atman. Our brother monk has not died. His body has died. He is a monk. He has already renounced the world. Everything he has renounced. He is a Brahmajna. He remains. He is always there with us. Such kind of idea is there in chanting the Bhagavad Gita. So this is very important for us. This is a great lesson, great philosophy of life for us. Life is not something to go to in search of pleasures and enjoy. It is to know the truth, know the reality of life. What is the nature of a human being? All these are very important. That will make a remarkable transformation in our life. That is why the study of Bhagavad Gita is very essential. So the Atma Vichara continues here. Atha chainam nitya jatam. I am sorry. Until this sloka, the Atma Vichara is instructed. Now no longer Atma Vichara. We are now out of the Atma Vichara. It's very abstract, very difficult to understand. We are now free from that. Krishna now comes to the down to empirical level, our ordinary level. All right, somebody has died. He has really died. I do not know what is Atman and all that. He has died. I am suffering. What you can do for it? Is there any remedy? Is there any solution? There is solution to every problem on earth. Doctor can give the medicine. For death, he cannot give the medicine. Death is not a disease. Death is something certain, which is going to happen. No doctor can see this. That's why Krishna, 2-3 shlokas, he says, inevitability of the death in the human life, that you cannot stop it. And also he assures us, whoever dies will be going to be born again. This is one of the fundamental doctrine in Hinduism and Buddhism. Only in Hinduism and Buddhism, not in other religions at all. In other religions, they have only one life, but our life is eternal. Bodies come and go, thousands of them, lakhs of them, crores of them, but we continue to live. What a wonderful idea it is. Life is continuous, thousands of bodies we may have. Our life continues. One thing we know, death is certain. But Krishna adds to that, if you die, the birth also is certain. You will be going to be born in a new body as a baby. You can start a new life. What a great assurance it is. Atha chainam nitya jatam nityam va manyase mrutam tathapitvam mahabaho naivam shochitum arhasi. Here the atha, the word denotes, if it is taken like this, if we accept, it is only a hypothesis. What is reality? What is the philosophy of Atman has already been told. I am an ordinary person. I am not able to understand this. Whatever you are saying, Krishna, I am suffering. I do not know about Atman. What is the solution to my problem? Is there any solution at all? Do you have a solution? Let us take for granted. Let us accept the fact. Atman dies and Atman is born. Atha chainam nitya jatam. Nitya word is very important here. Nitya means frequently, again and again. It is not the nitya which we have used in the case of Atman. Nitya means again and again, frequently, always. So, nitya jatam, always Atman is born and always Atman is dies. Atha chainam nitya jatam nityam va manyate mrutam. If you consider Atman to be always has got a tendency to born and die, this is the idea. That is the notion. That is the notion of everyone. We say when a child is born, we say Atman is born, he is born. We don't say body is born. Anybody says so? I don't think so. Body is born, but we say that fellow itself is born. The child is born. When the same child dies, the same man dies, or the woman dies, we say he has died or she had died. We don't say the body has died. Even if you think, according to the hundreds and thousands of people, common people around the world think, the man dies and man is born. Even if we accept that, then how can you avoid it? Tathapitvam mahabaho, O mighty arm, Arjuna, even then you should not grieve for it. You should not be worried for it. Are, people are dying. Why should I not worry for it? Of course, we will be very happy somebody is born, but we will suffer when somebody dies. Krishna says you should not suffer. It is not for that fact you should suffer. You should not mourn. Shochitum arhati. For their sake you should not suffer. Do not worry at all. I will tell you my personal experience. We come across so many devotees. In Mysore, I found two cases. One, not very young, but young wife lost her husband, and a very old woman also lost her husband. What we think, old woman is mature enough to understand what is death, the consequences of the death. He might have prepared. That husband was suffering from cancer. But when I saw her after 1 year, she was still in grief, suffering, mourning. She had become very weak mentally and physically. In contrast to that, there was a young woman who lost her husband almost in the 40 or 50 years of age. She was peaceful, she was blissful, she was in joy as it was before the as she was before the death. How it is possible? It's all identification, it's all about the maturity of mind. How we take things, how we take the happenings that occurs in our life. It's only reaction, that's all. Death is a phenomena. Death has nothing to do with sukha or dukkha, happiness or misery. How we react to that. So if we react very intensely, and that is called the dukkha. It can be more intense sukha, intense dukkha. If we are too much identified, too much overthinking about it, we become too much emotional. And sukha, dukkha, or the dukkha in case of the death, is entirely a reaction, that's all. It is not subjective. It is not at all objective at all. So the Krishna is telling we should not suffer. We should not worry about the people who are dying. Interestingly, on the lighter vein, we are also going to die. Somebody must be mourning for our death also. We will be very happy. Oh, there are some people who will mourn my death, our death, isn't it? Let us imagine our death and see what will happen around us. We are cars, we are no body, body is there. Who are mourning? It's a very interesting idea to imagine. Why? Because, why you should not grieve? Because Krishna says in the next sloka. Krishna has made a proposition here in this verse. Even if you think people die and people take birth, always, frequently, again and again, you should not grieve for them. You should not mourn for them. Why? Why? Because jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu dhruvam janyamarutasya cha tasmad apariharyarthe natvam shochitum arhati. Very interestingly, both the shlokas end with natvam nainam shochitum arhati. The second shloka, the verse number 27 also ends with natvam shochitum arhati. It is the gospel of fearlessness, gospel of solace, because the full life is full of misery, uncertainties. Though we pretend to be happy outside, we know our own mind how much suffering we are undergoing. Krishna is there to help us to assuage all kinds of problems which cause us suffering. The main problem is the ignorance. Jatasya dhruvaha mrityuhu. One is born now. 1972, one is born. Now he is 53 or 52 years old. How long will he live? Another 30 years? Up to 80? How long you will expect him to live? Forever? No. Jatasya dhruva. Dhruva means certain. One who is born, what is certain? Mrityuhu is certain. Jatasya to one who is born, mrityuhu dhruvaha. It is very, very certain. Mrityu means certain. This we know very well. Very well we know. Whoever is born has to die. But Krishna is telling something else, which gives us hope. We have not died. There is no such thing as permanent death or absolute death. The death is only for the body. One who dies, the birth also is certain. This birth is gone. Next birth. Dhruvam janma mrutasya cha. Mrutasya, one who has died. Suppose I die now, just moment. For me, next birth is certain. Oh, nobody wants to think himself to die. It is very interesting, joyful. Swamiji says, if you think of death, your life will become joyful. Because you do only important things in life. You make a preference, this I have to do, this I have to do. Then you will take up only those things, because you are going to die. A cancer patient, doctor says, you have only 3 months. Who is doctor to say you have 3 months? It can happen next moment also. Anyway, doctor says 3 months. Then that cancer patient, he has got his own preferences. What he is supposed to do within 3 months, what he can do. Only those things he will do. He will not waste a single moment. So when we think of death, same thing happens. We take up only important things that we should do. We have to do japa dhyana every day. We have to sing the glories of God. We have to think of God always. Every day we should visit Ramakrishna Ashrama like this. Not just watching the YouTube video. I will visit Ramakrishna Ashrama every day. So the whole outlook changes. Perspective towards life changes. So Krishna says here, Jatasya, one who is born, mrityuhu dhruvaha. Mrityu, the death. What death? Death for the body is certain. And dhruvam janma mrutasya cha. Mrutasya, one who has died, the birth also is certain. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani, jatare shayanam. Janana has happened. After some years, marana, once again entering into the womb of the mother. Can it be avoided? Apariharya, Krishna says. There is no parihara here. One parihara is there, of course. Atma jnana or the Bhagavad jnana, seeking God and communing with God is the only solution to this problem. No other solution. Until that, when we are in the state of bondage, apariharya, tasmad apariharya, it is certain. One who is born, death is certain. One who has died, again next birth is certain. Therefore, apariharya, it is something inevitable. You cannot escape from. Janana marana chakra, we say. Arthe, it is a matter that cannot be dispensed with at all. It is something certain in life, inevitable in life. So what is inevitable, we have to cope up with that. If we grieve for it, if we suffer for it, if we worry for it, what is the use? That happens in many houses where death occurs. I have seen it. I have seen to those houses where our devotees or some other people have died, our friend, we go there. All are weeping, friends have come, they are also weeping, relatives have come, they are also weeping. And I go to the same place after a month, nobody is weeping. All are smiling. The departed person's photo will be there. That is the only sign of remembering that person. Where that all worries have gone, all suffering has gone. Only momentary suffering, that's all. No suffering. Because people understand it is something inevitable. After death we cannot do anything. Tasmad apariharya arte, in this matter that cannot be dispensed with, that cannot be solved, natvam shochitum arhati. Once again, you should not grieve for it. It is not, you do not, such a death and birth do not deserve to be grieved at all. Then he says, why people take birth and die? Then what is birth? What is death? Very interesting, very interesting. What is death? What is birth? Avyaktadini, next verse, 28. Avyaktadini bhutani vyakta madhyani bharata avyakta nidhananyeva tatra ka paridevana. Adi means beginning. Avyakta, before your child was born, where was he or she? Where was the child before the child was born? We do not know. Where was he was? Avyakta, unmanifested. Here, rather than unmanifested, we can have the word like mysterious. Or he is not appearing. He doesn't appear at all before his birth. Mysterious is the way. Suddenly he was born. A person was born. Person is born. In the middle, Vyakta Madhyani, all the livings were nowhere, not to be seen in the beginning. Avyaktadini bhutani. Bhutani means living beings. Where were they before their death, before their birth? We do not know. That is what is meant by avyakta. So here one translator has rightly translated as it is mysterious. Though the literal meaning of the avyakta is not seen. It is something mysterious. We will ask the person, baby, hey baby, where were you there before you were born? The baby itself doesn't know. Avyaktadini bhutani. It is a mysterious. Where a person was there before he was born, before he or she was born. Suddenly he appears. That is what is called birth, isn't it? Vyakta madhyani. So Vyakta madhyani bhutani. Bhutani should be added to all the three. Avyaktadini bhutani, Vyakta madhyani bhutani. Bhutani means living being. It has to be added to both Avyaktadini and Vyakta madhyani. Some years he lives. He is manifested now. No longer is he is mysterious. He is very much alive. He presents himself or herself to everyone. Vyakta Madhyani, manifested. Once again, what will happen? These living beings, avyakta nidhanani, they again disappear in the time of death. Nidhana means death. What is death? Disappearing. The person had come from the work yesterday night, and morning where he has gone. We do not know. Avyakta nidhanani. So the meaning of this sloka is, all living beings are mysterious. Their existence was mysterious. For some time they appear on the scene and we see them. And we also. We are not exception, every one of us. Once again, the same living beings disappear. They become mysterious. From disappearance to disappearance. For some time they appear on the scene. Mysterious their way. Again they are seen. Again they go back to the mysterious. It is happening thousands and thousands of years. Since the creation it's happening. Tatra ka paridevana. There is no use in worrying about it, to grieve about it. Is there any use? Oh, people die, what I can do? If you have to be weeping all through your life, if you weep for that. Tatra, in that matter, people becoming unmanifest, from unmanifest to manifestation, and again going back to the unmanifested state. In this matter, there is nothing to be grieved about. What is there to grieve about? I will take 1 minute because I want to introduce 2-3 words of Shankaracharya that will make you understand this in a profound manner. He says, Adrishya, Drishta and Pranashta. Most beautiful words you can have. Before birth, all the livings were adrishta, not seen. Drishta, now they are seen. Then pranashta, they are destroyed. They are gone. Where they have gone, we do not know. So why should we grieve for it? Why should we worry for it? Very difficult to digest this. But this is the reality. This is the truth. The Bhagavadgita is the book of truth, book of reality. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Rama Krishna Arpanamastu. Tomorrow, our President Maharaj, President of the Ramakrishna Math and Mission, Most Revered Gautamanidaji is arriving to ashrama, and devotees can have darshan and pranam after the evening arati from 2nd September to 5th September. You are all most welcome.